In Luke chapter 15, we see a scenario taking place that happened quite regularly during Christ's earthly ministry. The Jewish leadership team, as we'll call them, seemed to like to pick on Jesus over the details. And they had made a lot of rules and laws that were kind of like fence rules that kept them from getting too close to breaking the law. And that's not exactly how we are to live. And Jesus knew the truth. And so he always saw through the question, and he often answered them with a parable like he does in this situation. Luke chapter 15, verse 1. Now all the tax collectors and sinners were coming near Jesus to listen to him. And both the Pharisees and scribes began to complain, saying, "This man receives sinners and eats with them." First of all, we have to kind of dissect the word sinners. Jesus hung out with the lowlifes. Jesus hung out with the dirty people of the culture, shall we say. He invited them to sit down and eat with him, which was unheard of. Just a righteous person didn't do that. Verse 3. And so he told them this parable, saying, and he's talking to these Pharisees and scribes who are picking on him. What man among you, if he has 100 sheep and has lost one of them, does not leave the other 99 in the open pasture and go out after the one that is lost until he finds it? And when he has found it, he puts it on his shoulders rejoicing. And when he comes home, he calls together his friends and his neighbors, saying to them, "Rejoice with me, because I have found my sheep that was lost." And I tell you, in the same way, there is more joy in heaven over one sinner who repents than over 99 righteous people who have no need of repentance. Jesus sets forth the paradigm here. And he brings it into their culture because sheep were valuable animals. Their culture was around the wool of the sheep and also around the meat of the sheep. The ones that they could not find spots or blemishes on. The ones who had the perfect shape and contour. They were the ones that ended up on the feast table at Passover because they appeared to be perfect. Jesus talks about the value of that in that one lost sheep. And that sheep strayed away on its own. And that shepherd, that one who had the 100 sheep and only one was missing, went out for the one. Now it's very interesting. As a pastor, I often hear the scuttlebutt underneath the current when someone leaves the congregation. And many, many times people will walk into my office, call me, text me, email me, "Are you going to talk to so-and-so? They've gone. They've left." No, I'm not. Now, if they invite me to, I will. But I'm not going to go out and chase them because I'm a sheep. I'm not the good shepherd. And that's what we see in John chapter 10, that description. He says, "I am the good shepherd. The good shepherd lays down his life for the sheep." And he knows the value of the sheep because they are his. I'm a pastor. I'm part of the flock. I just speak for the shepherd at times. And that's not because I don't want to do certain things that the traditional North American pastor is required to do by job description. Not at all. It's that I respect who the shepherd is. And we as leaders in the church need to know that. We are not the shepherds. We may operate in the ministry of a shepherd at times, but we are not the shepherd. And when people leave the flock, Jesus will go after them. Jesus will pursue them. Jesus will find them, and he will bring them back to the flock. And he may not bring them back to your portion of the flock. Okay, it's okay. But we have to recognize that. And when we see that, we realize our role in the congregation, our role in the pasture. It's interesting because if you look at sheep in a herd, the older, larger sheep are always in the perimeter as they walk together. When they follow the shepherd into a new pasture, the older, larger sheep are always in the perimeter and the smaller, younger ones are in the middle. And once in a while they sneak out between the legs of the larger ones. And the good shepherd, the person, goes after them. brings them back. But while he's gone, those older sheep keep those younger sheep right in there. They know that instinctively. We as Christians, the older and more mature sheep in the flock, we need to watch out for our young sheep. We need to love them and make sure they're safe and carried while the shepherd brings the ones he wants in. And we have to be effective in our lives by being those mature sheep in the flock. And as we live our lives out in the culture, and as we live our lives in the society around us, we reflect who we are as the sheep of his pasture. And when we do that right, they will know us by our love. Because Jesus said, when you love each other and you share that love of Christ with others, they'll know who you are. And that is how we live, reflecting the life of Christ.